Okay, let's bake our maps. So I want to decimate these so baking goes faster. So let's turn on the wireframe, and I'm going to add a Decimate Modifier. Turn it off so we can edit this quickly. Set it to 0.1 in planar, and then we can turn it back on. There we go. Now just apply. Okay, I just did the same decimation to this one, so now we can get ready for baking. So let's turn off wireframe and make sure to save this scene and come to our low poly, and I want to just apply everything. Same here and same here. Alright, and convert this to a mesh. And let's cap this off and bevel it, and just copy this number. Go to our high poly, and let's convert to mesh. Cap these off, bevel it, but add some support loops. Like that. Alright, now I'm going to add support loop there, 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 and there. Grab them and bevel them. Just increase the segments like that. And now subdivide, and that's our high poly mesh. Alright, save. Let's grab this and set the resolution. Grab both of these. Set this resolution to like, hold Alt while you do it, and 4 looks good. You know, it's a mix of not too low and not too high. Do the same thing here. So 1 is too low, 2 is alright, but let's do 3. I think 3 will be good. Alright, and save. And let's convert to mesh, and now we can just delete this, delete this, and anything else that's kind of annoying to look at. Alright, now we have our low poly. Let's go and UV unwrap. So let's clean up these booleans. So just do clean up like this. I recently saw a video, apparently Mesh Machine can do this type of cleanup pretty well, but I'm not sure how it does it. It might actually, like a lot of these add-ons for Blender, just don't seem worth it to me, but just this feature in Mesh Machine that I saw where it would automatically kind of do this for you, snap the profiles of the boolean to the other profile and clean up. That looked pretty interesting, but most of it is like bool tool is kind of good enough for me. I don't think any like speed increase would be marginal. Alright, just snap these. And yeah, I'm not sure of a faster way to do this. You could just merge doubles, but then it might merge to the wrong part. See, we want to merge that to that. We want to merge to the circle. Alright, and let's just finish this one, and then we should be able to symmetrize. Alright, let's just do this side. And remove doubles. And symmetrize. Make sure we're going the right direction. Okay, remove doubles. And symmetrize. Now it looks like everything has been cleaned up, from what I can tell. Okay. Let's select sharp edges and mark them as sharp. Set that to 180 and shade it smooth. And let's triangulate just triangulate our n-gons. And then press Alt-J. Alt-J to turn any tris to quads. Alright, and now we'll grab everything that's sharp and mark a seam. Go to UV editing. Press Unwrap. So now we need a seam down the middle. All of these need seams in the middle of them. Alright, mark seam, unwrap. And let's just grab these and press Alt-E. You need to have the UV squares enabled, or UV squares add-on. So then we'll type average, island scale, and I'm going to use UV Pack Master to pack. You can just use the default pack islands, but if we go to statistics, I think there is a way to measure. So right now it's 0.623 of the area is covered, and UV Pack Master gets it up to 0.675. That may not seem like a lot, but when you've got more islands, it'll give you a greater benefit. Alright, let's do this one. This one should be easy. Anything that's sharp, mark seam, unwrap. We need a seam down the middle. Unwrap. Alright, and let's clear seam, clear sharp, unwrap. Alright, and let's optimize this mesh first. I think this one is pretty much as optimized as it can get in terms of polys. Like, we could remove these, but they kind of help control the shading, because the shading's pretty bad, so I don't really want to remove those, and they're kind of fine. Yeah, this mesh is good, so let's grab this one, and let's set a new checker pattern. Just call this Unwrap. Go to the shading, workspace, give everything this material, and just go to image, do whatever, color grid, Okay, and then we'll come here, back to UV editing. So there's obviously something wrong with this island. Alright, this needs a seam in the middle. Same with this. And these need seams and sharp edges. I don't know how those got missed. Mark seam, mark sharp. Let's set our clipping to like 0.01. Control mark sharp, mark seam, mark sharp. Now let's try unwrapping. Okay. Let's optimize. Turn on auto merge. Just get rid of anything that's unnecessary. Make sure these are not sharp, because they don't need to be. And let's just dissolve these. And just symmetrize. Alright, and then re-unwrap. Check the pattern. Looks mostly unwarped to me. So I'll just pack it. Okay. Let's do this piece. Shading looks good already. Let's dissolve these, symmetrize. So anything that's sharp, so mark sharp and clear sharp. Anything that's sharp needs to have a seam. And let's unwrap that. So that's this long edge loop needs some seams. Probably here's a good seam. Here's a good seam. Here. And here's probably another good one. I'm gonna bring all these. Alright, and symmetrize. And I want to put a seam here. Alright, seams, sharps, and seams. And then clear sharps and clear seams on this. The seams are fine, but definitely clear sharp. And let's mark a seam along this edge loop. So just grab that. Okay, mark seam. Might as well join those up. And unwrap. And let's cut right down the middle with the seam. Let's try unwrapping now. And these are like really skinny islands, really long and skinny, which is not really a good use of our UV space. Let's mark seam there. And I think adding seams technically adds to your vert count, because it's going to split the vertices. I think like behind the scenes, but because you've got two vertices now on the UV map where you have a seam. Alright, alright, so we need one. Mark seam, mark sharp, mark seam. Alright, what is this island? This giant one? Let's cut this across here. Oh, so the inside is what is kind of messed up still. I was wondering what is like going on. Let's mark sharp and mark seam. Set this to 180 so you can see what's going on. And I'm just going to mark a seam here. And dissolve these. Symmetrize, unwrap. Alright, let's start optimizing this. So all of these are unnecessary, so I'm just going to delete them with Control X. My screencast keys not on. I don't even know if that's helpful. I remember when I was like very first starting out, I liked having screencast keys in videos, but I don't really know like how people feel about them. Alright, this unwrap looks a little bit better. Maybe he's still connected. No. Alright, let's just view this. It's like, I guess that's satisfactory. Let's just continue making sure this is optimized. So delete that. Delete that. Okay. Any other unnecessary verts? Yep, right here. Just triangulate it like this. Symmetrize, unwrap. Alright, these are very unnecessary. I think we've got just about everything. Maybe this one is unnecessary. Same thing with these. and this. Okay. And then we should probably turn the bevel weight up right here. Okay, and then I'll just triangulate any n-gons and do a weighted normal, but keep sharp. Okay, and then just apply and apply, and press Alt J to convert any tries to quads, and unwrap and pack. Alright, that's pretty good. So what's still to do? This shouldn't be too hard. So let's poke faces, go into isolation, and just cut a seam along the inside right here. Mark seam and unwrap. Alright, we got a decent result, but let's mark a seam there, and clear the seam there. Do the same thing over here. Mark seam, clear seam, and try that result. I think that's better. So now we basically just have a line of quads. Okay, let's do the same thing here. So I'll just do Control E, mark seam, poke faces, and cut a seam right along here. Mark seam, unwrap. There we go, nice unwrap. Alright, and last piece to do is these right here. So let's make sure we cap these off. And let's go to the high poly. And I'm just going to convert these to meshes. Cap these faces. Come on, grab it. Okay. Select these faces. And then bevel. Alright, and that's good. Go back to the low and mark seam, mark sharp, and I think we can just poke faces. Alright, do the same thing here. Mark sharp, mark seam, and poke faces. Okay. And let's cut a seam along the inside of this. And just unwrap it. And that's a pretty good result. Let's do the same thing here. Mark seam, unwrap. Okay. Select everything. Alright, make sure we have this disabled because you don't want to accidentally join our low poly mesh now that it's unwrapped during the baking phase. So let's save this, and I'm going to export this. File, export, wavefront OBJ, and I'm going to make a new folder. Tut OBJ. low poly, do selection only, and make sure to write normals, and don't write materials. And then let's do the same thing for the high poly. File, export, wavefront OBJ, high poly, and that looks good. Okay, and let's start baking. So something that is going to be tricky is probably this piece, because these are so close together. If the rays come out too far, like say the ray that's projecting this part of the normal map starts down here, it'll catch the underside of this and it'll come out yellow, and that'll be a bake error. So that's something to watch out for. But let's save this and explode our mesh. So I'm going to do GX4, GX -4, GZ2, GZ3, GY4, negative, GY4. Alright, and just join everything with that. And then come to here and we'll do the same thing. GY4, GY -4, GX4, GX -4, GZ2, GZ3, and come to our high poly and join everything up with that. Oh wait, before you do that, convert to mesh. That's the same as applying your modifiers, and now join that up and save. Okay, let's grab this right here. Delete it. Alright, grab that, then this, go to shading. Let's find this image, call it Baker, change it to linear and 32-bit. Okay, save. And then I want to select the high poly, which we're going to just give a high poly material. And let's change it to viewport display. Let's just make it metal. That's kind of cool. Alright, so we'll come here, select the high poly, then the low poly, click Baker, and then change this to cycles, change this to like 2. Might as well do adaptive sampling, whatever. I don't think that even works on baking, but make sure you have GPU, and I'm going to set this to 1024. Alright. And now I'm going to come here, and I'm going to just measure the segment with the measured add-on. Show segment, and I want to have point 1, 2, 3 point, so 3 zeros and then 7, 8. So let's try. We'll select our high poly and our low poly. Go to bake, tick cage, select it to active cage, and we'll do 0.12375. Alright, and save, and let's bake this. Oh, I forgot to pack the UVs, so come here. Oh wait, go to your low poly rather, change this to a UV editor. Select everything. Do average island scale. And then go to UV pack master. And I'm gonna pack for 5 seconds. So actually let's do this. We'll compare pack islands, and then I want to do, let's see, statistics, and then I want to, let's see, measure area 0.65. so that's not bad actually, not terrible. But let's see what this can get us to. 0.683. So, you know, an improvement. So that, I guess you don't need this add-on. So what you would do if you didn't have this is just click pack islands instead. Alright, and now we'll change this to normal and just bake. Going to get rid of that. Alright, so we have a lot of errors. That's probably because our arrays aren't casting long enough, but I kind of expected that. But you see this right here baked perfectly, and this whole bunch of other areas didn't bake perfectly. So let's set up our array distance to like point, set that to like that big, and now try and bake. Alright, let's go to our high poly, face orientation, recalculate normals, come here and recalculate normals. Okay, so now select the high poly, then the low poly, and bake again. Alright, so we reduced the numbers of errors, but are still got some. That seems to be on the inside here. So I think that's just has to do with the ray projection. Let's turn it up to 0.01. Try baking again. Okay. This should be marked as sharp. And save. Let's try baking again. So sometimes baking is just kind of working through errors until you got everything set up, which is why I don't think very many people enjoy this part of the process. Alright, let's kind of view what's going on. So what we can do is turn on sync selection and just see where that is. That's the underside, so it doesn't really matter. I don't think we're going to get a much better projection on that anyway, unless we were to we could build a cage mesh, but do I really want to? Let's see. Let's plug this into a normal map. Let's see the viewport display. 1 and 0.4. So 1.4. So big error right there. Probably have some big errors in here, but I'm not concerned about that. More concerned about kind of how it would look from the outside. And what we can do is now that this is packed, we can duplicate this and do GX negative or positive 4, GX4 negative, GY negative 4, GY 4, GZ negative 2, GZ negative 3. Let's just take a look at this. So some errors here. Oh, okay, so I think it might be worth building a cage. Alright, so let's duplicate this, we'll call it cage. Make sure we have our other layer visible. Just press Alt S, scale everything out, just like that. Let's go back to object mode. Call this cage. Set this viewport display to like red. So now look for any we'll just look for any red. If we see any red, that means it's not out far enough, like right here, for example. So go to the cage, grab this piece, just bring it out a little bit further, like that. Still see some red there, so push it out. Alright, so we had some intersections because of that. So what we can do is grab this tool, change it to normal. Now let's see if we can try to get this. Okay, I'm going to unselect this and now just bring out this portion. Okay. Let's take that out. Take that out. And now scale it up. Okay. I don't see any other red. So let's make this unselectable and unvisible or invisible. Alright, and let's bake again. This time we'll just use our cage and bake. I'm going to go back to viewport display, just change it back to the default. Same with this. Alright, so still have some errors. Mostly along this edge. Alright, so I'm guessing if we look at our cage, we need to grab this whole piece, just push it a little bit further, like that. And that should fix up that. So let's turn it off and bake one more time. And I'm baking at 1024 right now, so it'll go really fast. Alright, let's check. Let's check these. Alright, that's on those, not concerning. Same thing with that. But this right here is concerning. Okay, so alright, that's on the inside. Okay, so yeah, we can see what's going on here. So just do Alt S and increase it just a little bit. Alright. Turn it off. And bake. Alright, what is this right here? Bring it out a little bit. Alright, bake. Alright. Let's look at this one. And that looks like a pretty clean bake. Turn this down to like 0.2. And the color down to like gray. Change the matte cap or the environment. Okay, this looks good to me. I'm gonna bake it at 4K now. So just discard this, put it for 4096, save, and I'm gonna set my performance tiles to 4096, and now I'm just going to bake. So grab this and that, and bake this out. Alright, it finished. So, image, save as, and I'll just call these bake maps. Alright, just new folder, open EXR, float full, and do normal. Alright, just let that save. Alright, and now I want to bake curvature. So since we actually made our high poly with geometry, unlike the MP7, pointiness should work. So let's do a map range. I still don't know if I don't think actually I don't know. I don't think other programs curvature maps are geometry, like constrained by their geometry, but I'm not sure about that. I don't want to say something I don't know about, but anyway, I'm not a huge fan of pointiness. So let's just grab a math node, set this to subtract, and a value. Plug that in right there and right there. Let's view the result. What the heck? Okay, set that to 0.4 or 0.45. Okay, that looks like a good result to me because we also have dense mesh density around our edges, so that's why it works. But we got a glitch right there. But you know what, whatever, it's fine. So I'm going to pack that in to one channel and then grab an ambient occlusion. This is another way to do it. It's not perfect, it has its own limitations, or especially around like areas that are really close together. So we're going to click only local and give one of them inside. Alright, and just do AO to value. We want this one to be from 0 to 0.5. Since this one's the edges, we want it to be from 0.5 to 1. And then just do a mix. Mix Rgba. Set it to overlay. Alright, and see how that looks. Get a value node. And just set it to like 0.01. And let's try the same math branch setup. I don't know if it'll work. I guess it worked. But we might want to tone it down. So there's before, there's after. You see what I'm talking about. It kind of bugs out there because it's ambient occlusion based. Try 0.005. Let's turn that up to 0.45. So we achieved a pretty similar result. Alright, I'm gonna grab this one and let's just double it. Double the width. And now we'll do a combine Rgba. Now we're going to have three options when texturing. Pointiness, sharp AO, and less sharp AO. So let's grab those, set our samples to like 32, I think is what I'm going to go with. Actually, I'm going to go with 16 and then just, or I'll go with 12 and then I'll denoise. Alright, so I'm going to save this and do selected to active. Change this to emit and then just click bake. Alright, do image, save as, we'll just call this curvature. Curvature. Alright, now let's bake ambient occlusion and whatever the heck else we want to put into that channel. So let's just grab another ambient occlusion and let's change it to like 0.5. Actually, 1 is fine. See how that looks. Alright, that looks fine. Let's go to the geometry node and let's do a separate XYZ. We want to grab the normal and let's just put that in there because why not? Okay. Okay, so we got this and this right now. See what else can we do. I don't think Substance have anything else that's even useful that I'm missing. We got normal, world space, Z. Alright, let's just do... I mean, we basically already got cavity from this. So... whatever, this will be fine. Okay, so let's do selected to active and just bake. Do image, save as. Let's call this AO. Alright, and then I'll just grab, once that saves, grab this one and bake its ambient occlusion to itself. We don't really need the high poly mesh to bake this ambient occlusion, so I'm just gonna view what this looks like. Let's alright, and I'm just gonna bake that to itself. Okay, let's see what that looks like. Just okay, baked pretty well. Let's see if we color ramp it. How does it? Alright, so now I'm going to do image, save as AO2. Alright. Now all our images are baked. Let's denoise them so you can see they're a little bit noisy, so I'll just hit save and let's open up a new scene. Set the samples to like 1. Go to output, open EXR, float full, and change it to 4096, and just go to compositing. And drag this in here, go to the image editor, denoise. So let's view this. So I'm pressing V and Alt V to zoom the picture in and out. So let's plug it through a denoise. Denoise. Did that even do anything? Alright, so it's not updating very quickly. Plug that in. Let it composite. So now you can see it definitely has denoid because it looks just a little bit like smudgy and blurry, but that's fine. So let's separate Rgba because we don't want to denoise our top mask. So remember, red is our AO, so let's denoise that. Alright, and then I want to do a combine Rgba. So I want, I guess, local to be local AO, global AO, and then top mask. Yeah, so then we'll plug this into the composite and this into the viewer, and then just hit F12. Okay, do image, save as. I'm going to call this DAO, and let's do the curvature next. Okay, so just delete that. Actually, undo that. Delete these and go to curvature. Separate Rgba. We only want to denoise the green and the blue channels because those were our AO based curvatures. And let's see. So now I'll just hit X and then hit F12 to render. Alright, image, save as. Call this D-curve. Alright, let it save. Alright, X out. And let's open up our baking scene again. Don't bother saving that. Alright. And then I'll file, save as, tutorial, texturing. Okay, and now let's go back to a regular view. And I'm just going to delete this. Delete the whole hierarchy for the high poly. Select the cage and delete it. And I'm going to delete all of these. Put GY4 negative and just bring these back. Okay, and let's see how our maps turned out. So go to shading, exit out of this, and we can just remove that for now. We'll just call this M84. Alright, and drag in DAO, D-curve, and normal. Run this through a normal map. And I'll set this to a kind of a metally material. Okay. And let's view our, so we're going to have to separate Rgba. So this is our curvature. Here's pointiness. Here's AO based curvature. Probably should have gone smaller. But whatever, too late now. So you can see some errors there. Probably going to end up using whatever. That's another thing with pointiness is better at this because this AO based stuff, like I said, closed surfaces doesn't really work. Alright, and what is this? This is our local AO, global AO, and top mask. Alright, so we're ready for texturing. That's the end of the baking one. Sorry it was so long, but that's just kind of how baking goes. At least for me. Maybe it goes smoothly for some people, but it's like the least fun part of my process. Alright, I'll see you in the next one, which is going to be texturing.